If you ain't a gator, you must be gator bait. If you ain't a gator, you must be gator bait.
Welcome back and welcome in. We got a special guest, Kody the Professor, the Bush Latte King himself. I'm hoping you got one ready to go.
Nah, I gotta work, unfortunately.
Well, I got one for him right here.
Yeah, love that.
For you. Nice cold one. How we doing today, bro?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just trying to get through Friday, and then tomorrow we got our first game for Little League, so first football
Nice.
game of the year. So excited for that.
Love that, bro. So that's your first. It'll be the first Little League game of the year.
Yep. My
Okay, is
son's
this your first year coaching or?
no. This is year 3 for my son. So
Oh, okay, sweet. How old's your son?
he's 11. So
11. Oh, my son's 11 as well.
yeah, he plays every position. The end, he plays offensive line, and then he plays tight end, he plays kickoff, kick return, punt return. So
Sweet. Love
yeah.
that. My son's really into basketball, so he's all into Kobe and the Kobe's and rocking the Jordans and
Yep.
all into basketball now. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
bro.
It's a blessing and a curse. He talks football 24/7 and even wears me out. So
Oh my goodness. That's a beautiful thing. I have a cousin who he's the same way. Like anytime we're around each other, he's like quizzing me about the Gators. And
yeah,
I'm like, all right, I love it. You know your stuff. But no,
for
it's a
sure.
lot of fun. All right, let's kick this off. So, I asked Shelton this. I'm going to ask you this. Who is your favorite Gator of all time?
So I haven't been a Gator fan as long as everybody else. I became a Gator fan when I was in the Marine Corps. My best friend's from Ocala,
Okay.
and he was dating a girl that was at UF. And so we would drive down on like long weekends from DC. Uh, we would pack in the car and drive all the way to Gainesville for like 2 days, and then drive all the way back. It's like
Dang.
16 hours. So my first game was a FSU Florida away game, but we stayed in Gainesville, tailgated. I think Dalvin Cook is still running and scoring touchdowns on us.
Oh, so glad he's
It was
gone.
during the Dalvin Cook era. So if you know, so Jim McElwain, and then obviously what was the first coach that I started watching him a little bit before that. That would have been what's his name? Muschamp. So the last year of Muschamp and Jim McElwain. So Mullen was the best coach that I have watched. I would say my favorite Gator ever that since I've been watching is Jonathan Grenard.
Okay.
Kind of a 1-year transfer guy from Louisville, but
Right.
I mean he was absolutely dominant. I would have to say defensively. Offensively, probably Callaway, because I got the most memories with Callaway and or Kyle Trask. Trask is way up there for me.
Callaway with the Tennessee game. I'll never
Yep.
forget. Honestly,
Yeah.
that was the one player that when I watched him play, in my brain, I was like, this guy is like the closest thing in my brain to Percy Harvin. Because it's
Yeah.
like watching Percy growing up, I was like, oh, this guy's got. I mean, I get Kadarius Toney, but I also felt like I was like, this guy's got to be the closest to it, but he just could never seem to get it together.
Yeah, so I got pretty different Gators. I don't know very many people that say Jonathan Grenard, and then now he's a Viking,
Right.
so it's great for me. So
Yeah.
I love it.
No, I was about to say that's an elite poll. Anyone I've ever asked, I've never heard that one. So that is a really elite poll. I like that one.
If you go and rewatch those games, I mean, he made that defense. That Grantham defense was not very good, and he just took games over. The guy was absolutely electric, and we haven't had an edge rusher like that in forever. I
I
mean,
know.
you can say everything you want about Cox and Polite and a couple of the others. Slayton was another guy that I really like. So
Mhm.
defensive line is kind of my favorite position to watch.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's
so
perfect because I was about to transition into your favorite room this year. So guess that I know what the answer is going to be, but if you want to touch a little bit on that.
Defensive line, my favorite. I think the defensive line is improved, even depth wise. I know we lost a couple pieces to the draft, and I know a couple of kids transferred out. We did get the transfer in from Memphis, or no, Baylor. I think nobody's really talking about him. I think he's going to be a stud. They were really high on him on Baylor. He was supposed to be an impact player, and I think overall, especially with the addition of Woods coming off the edge, I think that's a pretty stacked room. You go through it and you have Sapp and Banks and you have McCray. I guess he's looking a lot better.
So
It takes a while for these edge guys to figure it out, because in high school they're really not setting the edge. They're just kind of see ball, get ball. And that's a lot of what LJ McCray struggled with, I think, last year. That's why I think he didn't get as much playing time as everybody was harping on him to get, because I think, it takes technique wise, you got to learn how to peek and seek and get off the edge. I think that this team is going to go by the defense. I'm worried about Lagway with the injury bug, it seems like. And I think this team is going to have to go by the way the defense goes. I think that if the defense doesn't show up, I don't know if there's a prayer for us to win. I think it's going to be a lot like the second half of the year last year or the first half. It's going to look it's going to look very similar, if that makes sense. So if the defense doesn't show up, it's going to look like Miami. If the defense does show up, it's going to look more like an Ole Miss LSU game. I think games are still going to be tight. But the offensive side of the ball is much improved.
Right. Yeah, I think that when it comes to just seeing, I know it's something real simple, but just them going about getting the defensive line like in the boxing classes, things like that. I think that does tell a lot, just with footwork and just like knowing how to use your hands and just quicker hands off of and just being able to get off the block a lot quicker. But personally, I think that a huge thing for it is that we need that defensive front to be as strong as possible, because I do realize that I'm not saying we have the worst DBs in the world, but that's the room that I'd say the most concerned about. And I think that most Gators fans are probably like we're not concerned about it overall, but I think when it comes to depth and when it comes to play there, me personally, I'm like, that's the room that I'm like, okay, that's the question mark. I feel like our linebackers are good, defensive ends are good, overall.
I wouldn't even say safeties. I wouldn't even classify all the DBs all in one. I wouldn't even say the nickels. I would say the outside corners are the biggest question.
Right.
Can Devin Moore stay healthy? Something he hasn't been able to do his entire time here. I know he's an elite talent, but you can't make the club in the tub, as Mike Zimmer used to say all the time. And then, listen, Cormani McLean's got to step up. That was a number one cornerback, 5-star. It's time to look like it. I know he was thin. I know he was wiry. I know he's put on a bunch of weight. He's matured a little bit. Listen, you're going into year 3. You need to show something.
Right.
Or what are we doing here? Because if Devin Moore goes down, I know we got Dijon and some others, but you're supposed to be the alpha in that room. I mean, you are Money McLean, right? You need to step up. And I think if Cormani can come in, play some significant snaps and be what we thought he was gonna be coming out of high school, I think there's a level to this defense that we haven't even seen yet. I think at times there's going to be a lot of coverage sacks if that happens. If Devin Moore stays healthy on the opposite side, he's going to lock down that side of the field, and then you put wide receiver number 2 on Cormani. If Cormani can hold his weight, watch out, because then you're not reliant on that defensive front. You're getting most of your sacks off coverage.
Right.
If you put the wide receivers in a box, watch out. And then I think we might have one of the best linebacking cores in the nation. You look at the three that we got, and Robinson, um, Graham, and Childs. I mean, those guys are the most excited that I'm for on this defense is those guys. Aaron Gates seems like he's a genetic freak. He's coming back from that ACL like it never happened. He's already, I think, full practice. Pup Howard, he gets kind of forgot. He doesn't get forgot about, but Pup is in that list. And then I Castell, I think he's going to take a big leap this year. I think last year they were trying to schematically do way too much. I think they need to sit in base defense and let the playmakers play. Listen, it's college ball. Okay. You're going to have, you're going to have to adapt to what's coming towards you. You're going to have some teams run the ball heavy, and then you're going to have an Ole Miss that wants to air it out 50, 60 times a game. I mean, you just got to figure it out. I think that if this secondary can, if they live up to their potential, I think this is probably a top 15 defense.
Right. I could see that too. And I talked about this, like, just kind of going back to the Cormani McClain deal. I think that I live probably like 35 minutes from where Cormani went to high school.
Okay.
And you could kind of see then, it's no knock on him, but you can kind of tell an immaturity, an immature person, and you could see it when he played there. And it's just simple things like, even going back to high school, players that like, I'm here to get the job done, and I'm here to get to college and then make it to the league. Like, their path, what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that Cormani, the problem with him is that he knew how good he actually is. And he believed that from the jump when he's at Lake Gibson, then he transfers to Lakeland. And then, he has all these big time offers for him. You could just see in the way that like penalties would get thrown on him. His last season at Lakeland, I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, what? I don't understand why some of the things he did. He just did it as like an immature level. Then you send him out to Colorado, which I talked about, Shelton and I talked about this. I talked about this on, on my actual show with it. It's that some people are not cut out for like the lights that Colorado brings. And I think it causes even more of an immaturity. Then he loses everything because he leaves and nobody wants him. After his YouTube video he made, things like that. Then he comes here, and I think a big thing that plays into that is I think no matter what, he's got skill. I mean, he's long, he's rangy, he knows how to play off the ball. But again, there's things like Billy just talked about. He's got to learn how to tackle. I think that's a big thing. You can cover well, but if you can't tackle, then you're not going to cut it. Yeah. But there's more to it. Are you showing up to practice on time? Are you showing up to the meetings on time? And it seems like he's kind of got that stuff dialed in. I think that he's got more of like, I don't know if I'd say like more just like overall fatherly figures that are around him that are, kind of holding him accountable. And not only that, he's got a team that, we're not in those locker rooms from, overall, but I would believe in myself that the Tyreek Sapps and the George Gums and the people like that are, kind of basically telling him stop being a knucklehead, get to where you're supposed to be where you're supposed to be. And I agree with you. I think that I personally feel, I think that he's going to be a star this year. I just feel like he's going to be undeniable.
I think with Cormani too, you got to look at the environment that he was in. I think that kid probably could have phoned it in and not showed up to high school a single day, and they still would have passed him, and he would have been college eligible because he was just such a. I mean, he was number one player in the nation. When you fail the number one player in the nation at a powerhouse school like Lakeland? No,
right.
Are you kidding me? Like, come on. And I think that's also one of the things we have to look at. I mean, I get it, but everybody wants to blame Cormani, and I get it. Listen, we were all doing dumb stuff at 18 years old. Let's not forget that.
Exactly.
I mean, we expect these kids to have everything figured out at 17, 18 years old. I think that's highly obtuse of us, and I think that you got to look at the product that that he came from, and when you can just phone it in because you're the best player and one of the best players in Florida, and you don't have to show up to class on time, and nobody's holding you accountable on that, and you're kind of, like there was I think Miami went to go see him and he wasn't even at school and stuff like that. It's like,
Exactly.
what are we doing here? I think it set him back a couple of years, but I don't think it's the worst thing for him.
No.
I think this is probably the best road for him. I'm glad he decided to mature. I mean, going from being the number one cornerback in the nation to walking on at a college that wanted you, and you could have been a scholarship guy at. I mean, that's pretty humbling.
Right.
And I get that when he first got here, he kind of maybe didn't do everything the right way, but it takes time to buy in. He still knows he's a freak athlete.
Of course.
Like that's you can only humble a guy so much that has that much talent. And then he does something wild on the practice field, and he's like, "Oh yeah, well, I'm the best." I just want him to figure it out. I know he's got to learn the playbook a little bit more. I know tackling is a big thing. But I mean, we have a month. You can learn a lot in a month. So I think that he's going to be just fine. I think if he's not pushing for a starting spot, we kind of need to maybe put a highlight there, maybe a question mark. Like, come on, dog, you're supposed to be this perennial all talent, and you're not pushing for a starting spot. Is questioning.
Right. I do think that it's also like very telling with just him putting on the weight in the weight room. That takes a level of maturity. It takes a
discipline.
Yeah, not everybody, and to someone like him, he's a tall, lanky, like that real skinny build, and so to go put on muscle, I mean, it takes that extra effort from you, and so I don't know. I hope he figures it out because, again, like you said, and like we've talked about, if he dials it together and we get the talent that he was coming out of high school, if we can translate that onto the field this year, I 1000% believe that this is going to be an absolutely insane year.
I mean, you could possibly. This is a thing that is, I wouldn't say frustrating, but it is I think a bright spot, right? You have possibly going from an unknown at cornerback, right? Like we don't. That's I would say the biggest question on the team is that cornerback position. I think we're pretty locked in on safety. We got uber talent there. If Moore stays healthy, we know what he is. If he can stay healthy for 12 games, and Cormani McClain is who we think he is, I mean, you're talking one of the best DB combos in the nation. Probably
brought up Dijon.
Yeah, and not even bringing up Dijon, probably the top 5 in the nation. What's that going to do for your defensive front? I mean, when nobody can get open. Plus, you got Aaron Gates at nickel. I mean, he's been spectacular. I think that the biggest question is possibly one of the best rooms in the nation, pending. But the game's got to be played.
They got to be played, and they got. I think the reason that the D line is so good is they know that they're all talented, but they work together so well.
Yeah.
And I think that's the big thing with the corner, the DB room as a whole. But, I feel like a big thing for this year and I agree 1000% that I think that we're going to go where the defense goes. I think our offense, we're going to know that we're going to score, but I think we go where the defense goes. But a huge thing is, and if anyone in the comments wants to let me know, or if I don't remember the last time that we had a defensive back unit that turned the ball. The last time I can think of getting interceptions and getting the ball back for the offense is the Vernon Hargraves, Tease Tabor, that era where they were just like, you didn't want to throw it in the air against those guys.
Yeah. It seems like Florida always has one elite cornerback every 3 years. Elam, Henderson, but if we can get 2, I
Right.
mean, if we can get two very good, I don't know if you're a big PFF guy. If we can get two guys that are 72% better, like 72 and better,
Right.
watch out, because this defense is going to be suffocating, because there's not a weak link if the cornerbacks play up to their potential.
Right.
You have one of the best linebacking cores in the nation. You have one of the best defensive lines in the nation, and arguably a safety room that nobody's talking about. I know Castell has had his lumps, but look who's behind him. I mean, you got two freshmen that are plug and play ready to go. I mean, Drake Stubbs is an absolute playmaker right away. And then you have Hayward that looks like a in the box safety that's ready to just
Right.
I mean, looks like a super athletic linebacker. So
Right.
it's like, watch out. And then you got Aaron Gates at nickel. I mean, that kid's gonna
He's the
be
one I'm the highest on. Like, that's my favorite defensive player right now. I
yeah,
can't wait for him to come back.
has to be mine too. So it's gonna be if they can put it all together, it's gonna be a top 10 defense. And
I agree.
if you have a top 10 defense, we know what the offense is, and we can get into the offense here in a minute. I just don't know if this offense is built to score 56 points a game. I don't think the play calling is in it. I don't think they call enough plays to get 56. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of
To get
course, yeah.
to score 56 points a game. So that's why I say we have to go as the defense goes, because if we get into a shootout, I'm not 100% that we're winning that.
Right.
Come from behind 7 points. Yeah, I'm cool with that. 14, 21 points. I don't know if the offense is built for that. I think it's
Right.
a lot. It's a lot like what Georgia does. They keep the games pretty tight, and then they score in loads in the second half,
Mhm.
and the game's gone. And then it looks like, oh, Georgia just, they drummed up this team, but really it was tight all the way into the second half, and then they, the defense really had their way with the opposing offense, and the offense was able to score some. So
Right.
I think it's a very similar trajectory of what those Georgia teams were.
Well, I think it's a lot like, I guess in boxing terms, it's a lot like the Floyd Mayweathers of it. It's kind of like that's like what Georgia does, where they come in and yeah, they're throwing shots, but what they're really doing is, and you don't even realize it until you're already into deep waters where they're wearing you down. They're taking in that data, and they're like, okay, we're wearing them down, and then all of a sudden they just like boom and turn it on, and then they start. I will say, if we're looking at last year's offense, because I think that this team on offense, also Carlos, I agree, Javon Curse is an absolute freak. But I think that when you're looking at this offense, this is where I just, because it's the unknown. And I think that the two things, like we talked about, the corners, are they going to stay healthy? That's an unknown right there. Me personally, I'll put a question mark on them. And then the play calling, because if we look at it, I think if Billy is handling the runs and then you let Russ Callaway handle the passing, and you can tie the two together, because if you just go look at Russ Callaway, his previous, ventures in calling plays, he's very pass heavy. I just don't think that Billy knows how to dial up a pass offense, but he calls up a run offense, with the best of them. But if you can tie them together and he kind of takes that ego out of it, if he wants to call the runs, by all means, that's fine. Dial that up. But if you let Russ Callaway, throw in the way he knows how to call a pass offense, and you keep DJ healthy, I honestly could see us lighting up the scoreboard. I mean, I don't see why we shouldn't. There's guys everywhere. I think the O-line is going to keep DJ upright. I don't know. I'm very torn on it, because, again, that's just a question mark. Is Billy going to give up even half of his ego?
I think that with the play calling thing, and I might get beat up here. I don't even necessarily think it's a play calling thing. I don't know if he's had the weapons and the execution to run the style of offense that he wants to. When I watch Florida and I turn it on Sunday, which is you take an offense of college, it's supposed to be a little more lumpy and bumpy than what it is at the NFL, right?
Right.
I get a very San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan type offense, a lot of movement, a lot of motion. They
Right.
utilize the tight end a lot more. I will say that it's like a mix of like that and the Rams. A lot of over the middle concepts, a lot of deep shots. I think the problem is Billy Napier hasn't had the talent to run that style of offense. We've always had a bugaboo on the offensive line. We've always had. I mean, you look at this wide receiver core when he came in. I mean, Jackson was a playmaker. I mean, you had like Ricky Pearsall, but that's one guy. When you load up the talent like what he has now, this will be the year. If they can't score with this amount of talent,
Exactly.
then I will say yes. I think it's a play calling problem.
I agree.
Right?
The thing I agree with there too is that if you look at Billy at Louisiana, he had a mobile quarterback. I'd never understood when I went back and watched him. When I knew that he was the hire, I went back and watched his team because they talked about it when he came in. He's going to call the plays. Like they said it. That's something he does. Steve Spurrier made the comment, if it got you here, don't give it up, so forth and so forth. Because we all talked about, well, we want a CEO in here. We want him to hire an OC. There was all the talk on Twitter, all that. When he had success there, he had a mobile quarterback. He comes into Florida his first season. Yes, he has a mobile quarterback, but he had a mobile quarterback that I feel like completely, I mean, he gave probably 20-25% of himself, if we're just being honest. I think he gave everything in the Utah game, but then I think that AR knew what he was. And he's like, no, like, I want to make it to the league because that's the payday. Then the thing I didn't understand is that then we go from him to Graham Mertz. And I think Graham Mertz was great. I am a big fan of Mertz just as a person, but he wasn't mobile. He doesn't fit that scheme. So I'm like, I feel like it was just always never a scheme fit.
I'll say this. Nobody gives Billy Napier credit for the amount of work that he has done with quarterbacks. You take a guy like Anthony Richardson under Mullen. That was, I mean, he didn't even really throw the ball. I mean, he didn't start off. We got pissed off. Mullen was like, "Oh, you guys want him to start? We're gonna feed him to Georgia against the one of the best perennial defenses that we've ever seen in that Georgia team." I think that was the year they won one of the national championships. They had like Jordan Davis and all kinds of playmakers, right? Yeah, let's do that. Let's take this young athletic quarterback and let's feed him to Georgia and just totally smash his ego because the fan base keeps crying on Twitter about how we want Anthony to start. So he's a lot better year two for his everybody that wants to say bad things about he was throwing the ball. He was a lot better. I went to the Kentucky game. It was terrible. I get it, but was better compared to under Mullen. So he goes top one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. I get it. The Colts are crazy. They saw, this big genetic freak. He's got a large arm. They fall in love with him. That's half the game, though. Getting your guys paid into the league, that's half the game. So we're going to chalk that up for a win. Then you take a guy in Graham Mertz, and my dad's a Wisconsin alumni. A guy that was coming in from Kansas, was almost a 5-star, was supposed to be the next best thing since Russell Wilson. They haven't had a quarterback like him since Russell Wilson. Highly touted, kills it in the time that he had his freshman year, gets COVID, has a terrible time with COVID, affects him ever since he got COVID. He didn't look right, gets a couple injuries, then gets tossed to the recycle bin of the transfer portal. Nobody wanted him, including myself. And then Billy gets him to the league.
And drafted before Quinn Ewers. I'm like,
so we talk about quarterback gurus, but nobody talks about what Billy has done.
Right.
And then you put in DJ Lagway, and I get he's uber talented, but I mean, you do not get the way that DJ Lagway took over games without good coaching.
Right.
Like we're talking the SEC. This isn't the Big 12. This isn't the once, Pac-12 after dark. This is the SEC, the best conference of college football with the best athletes. You throw out a true freshman and the offense gets better.
Right.
Overnight. And everybody's like, oh, Lagway, it's just Lagway. Listen, if Lagway didn't get any of the sharing of the load, that 2 quarterback system that people were kind of questioning about at the very beginning, he doesn't win 6 games.
Right.
He goes in and he has bumps and bruises and throws a bunch of INTs, like we saw the prodigy of the Texas quarterback did. He goes into ULM, and throws 4 picks.
Right.
He obviously got better, but it's like nobody wants to crown Billy Napier for being a good quarterback coach. And then you look at the quarterback situation now. Do I have questions about Lagway staying healthy? Absolutely. He has yet to be healthy since high school.
Mm-hmm.
That's a red flag to me. If I'm Billy Napier, I'm probably splitting the load like 60% Lagway and the rest to whoever I think is the best quarterback, either Tramel Jones, Harrison, Bailey, or Aiden Warner. And I'm letting them get a lot of reps with the ones, because the guy hasn't been able to stay healthy. He can't make the club in the tub. If he's always hurt and injured and always going through something, it's tough.
Right. I think the thing with him too, and this is going to the credit towards Billy, with teaching someone how to be a quarterback. If you watch, because with DJ, his senior year in high school, he didn't get injured. And so that's why I'm like, there is a possibility that he plays. Now, don't get me wrong, he's not getting hit by Georgia linebackers and Ole Miss, defensive ends, from his high school. But there's a lot to show about a couple of different things. Like, he is naturally talented. I mean, there's just some guys that you can teach them certain fundamentals, but they just got that it factor. And I think, kind of going to what Carlos said about AR not working on his touch passes, that's the thing that I think Lagway does need to clean up a little bit, is like the touch passes on the shorter end. But like the pass to Shamir DK in Neyland Stadium, 30 seconds left, we see a guy and we're like, oh my, like DJ is just outstanding. But I'm like, there's also things that are taught that we don't even see what's taught there. There's positioning your body a correct way. There's putting yourself, there's moving around in the pocket. He may have, being a true freshman, he may have put himself over here, and put himself into danger, rather than, Billy teaching that awareness in the pocket and showing him, okay, you go here. And then when you need to step up into that pocket, now you're finding that gap. Now you're finding, okay, let me step up into here and make that throw, because it's the same thing. I watched him at Samford. I get it. It's Samford. But he moved himself around in the pocket, and I watched him throw one of the best passes it's the best pass I've ever seen in person, but one of the best passes I've seen just in general, throwing just an absolute dime to Aiden Mizell. Making a throw is one thing. A lot of these quarterbacks can make a throw, but it's pocket awareness. That's what you have to learn. As a true freshman, you got to be taught those things. That's what I want to see where he can get from here. I think that's my biggest concern about him. I'm not worried about him making throws. I'm not worried about that. He can make a throw happen. I want him to have more time under his belt, to where I don't want him running the ball a lot. He shouldn't have to run the ball a whole lot. I think that he can kind of utilize it a little bit, and kind of get there, because he is fast and he can use it. But we got stallions back there at running back. We got just monsters at receiver. There should be no reason he should have to run a lot.
I'm a proponent of he doesn't run a design play a single time. I'm a proponent of you let Caden Daniels, the guy from Moss Point, Mississippi, that played that wildcat quarterback position, you stick him back there when you want a quarterback run.
Or
that's
Eugene
what
Wilson.
or Eugene Wilson or any of. I think Caden Daniels personally, we saw, just because of this, the Caden Daniels has a wherewithal that the other running backs do not. You look at that Tulane game, that botch snap. You know how many bot snaps Caden Daniels has probably had? 100,000, and he knew right what to do with it. You
Yep.
know, pick it up, find the lane, and go. You do
Right.
not get that from a Jaden Ball, from a Trayon Webb, because they didn't play the quarterback position like that.
Right.
I mean, this kid rushed for, I think it was like 2,000 yards at Moss Point, Mississippi, at the quarterback position, not at running back.
Right.
I get it's high school, but those shotgun snaps in the Wildcat are irreplaceable. I think why you want to get Caden Daniels the ball? He's the fastest running back you got. Run the design runs. Who cares if they know it's coming?
Right.
Who cares? I don't care. Do you care? I don't. If you can run peanut butter and jelly as long as the play's executed, they can't stop it.
Right. And I think what a big thing is too, I mean, I personally think that's a huge red zone type offense too, because if this O line is going to be what we think it's going to be,
We saw a
good luck.
glimmer of it with Montreal Johnson. So
Right.
it's in the package. Just do it.
Just run it. I think he's going to, that's who I have talked about being our breakout player. I think that he's going to have a massive year. And that's no knock on Webb, but, you know, Webb's still dealing with a little bit of the injury. I mean, he's still, you know, he's not really practicing. And I think that when that becomes a valuable thing at that third running back position. But you put, you know, I don't know if he can throw it. I don't know if you know that, but if KD can throw it, you know, why not work it up a little bit? Get a little bit creative.
Yeah,
Because
you
see,
can jump past the tight end, something.
right.
I mean,
And, you
nothing
know,
crazy.
yeah, nothing
One
too
read,
crazy.
and go.
Nothing like what they did with like Kadarius Toney.
No.
We don't need that. But honestly, even if they don't ever throw it, just find your lane, get out of there, you know, just north-south football, get up the field. You know, you don't have to do too much dancing, but staying on the offensive side and just even with the play calls, no matter who we put back there, there's going to have to be a little bit more trust, like in Lagway, I think, in the sense of that being at the Florida Ole Miss game last year, we get the ball back with, I want to say it was like a minute 50 left before halftime. And I just watched us eat the clock away. And I'm like, what are we doing? You know, I don't know if maybe it wasn't the trust with Lagway, maybe it was the trust with receivers. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, that's a big question mark for me with Billy and him just being the head coach. Even I don't care if Russ calls all the plays. You have a decision to make of, hey, we're gonna push it down the field here. That's the thing that's gonna happen. I think that's how we push into the playoffs. That's how we push into a further range of, okay, we're making a run, is taking risks, because we are not going to go that far running the ball with a minute 50 left before halftime and not even trying to get 3.
I can agree with that. I think that Billy it plays the game extremely conservative. You look back at that Tennessee game, you have a chance to win it. You're on the road and you elect to go into overtime. That's not a move I would have made.
Right.
Of course, Florida's not paying me millions of dollars a year to make those play calls, but I'm not. My team's on the road, hostile environment. We're lucky we're even in this thing. Like, let's go for the gusta, you know. And I said it very early and got absolutely just torched on our call-in show. I'm like, nah, that was a bad call. You need to get no. Everybody torched me, right? And
Right.
then like a week later, everybody was like, yeah, maybe we should have just went for it. Like, what was it to lose? Like,
Right.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you're. I think that could be better with Coach Nate. And I think definitely that like some of the best teams in the league and both leagues, college football and the NFL, they score with that minute and a half. And
Right.
that has to be, you have a high powered offense this year. There's no excuses to
Of
shell
course.
up and do 3 draw plays in a row. I mean, you got some freaks all over the field. I'm expecting a minute and a half. We drive it down and at least get 3,
Right.
right? If it stalls out.
Even if you get to where you're getting, you know, Trey Smack has to kick a deep field goal, I would rather have a chance at that. I want to
Yeah.
have the chance to make that kick rather than just, what are we doing? Like, we're wasting time.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, like you said, we're not getting paid millions to coach this team. but I've seen Lagway make throws. I've seen him throw defensive linemen off of him. I guess I don't get it.
I'll say this too. And as a guy that absolutely loves the game and loves learning about the game, I'm not going to say I'm the most well-versed person in the game of football. There are people out there that have forgotten more than I know about football. I will say this. I watched the film guys. I know they're Georgia guys, but he breaks down all the quarterbacks in the SEC. Does a very, very good job. Did a 26-minute video on DJ Lagway. And what people don't seem to understand is, they when this offense is clicking, it's high octane. It can go.
Right.
But it stumbles. The reason it stumbles is because Billy Napier asks a lot out of these quarterbacks. A lot. These throws are not, they don't have, this isn't Bo Nix, Oregon, dink and dunk all down the field. And we're gonna take 4 minute, we're gonna take 5-minute drives of screen pass here, flare pass here, wheel route here, shallow cross here, come back here. I mean, these are big boy throws, one hash all the way to the sideline on an outbreaking route. Middle of the field reads. Those are always tough. Flood concepts. These are true NFL throws. And I think it takes a certain quarterback to be able to do that. To the other two quarterbacks behind DJ Lagway, can they do that? Because Billy Napier's not going to tame down the offense because of the quarterback he has. That's evident. Right. I mean, Graham Mertz, the reason that he got drafted was because he has so much tape of making those big boy throws and those all these NFL style throws of these hard throws to make. It's not dink and dunk. I'll say this: if DJ Lagway can stay healthy and figure it out, I mean, we're looking at a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, and there's no. I mean, when you combine that, I mean, what do you got? You're in the playoffs,
right? I think a big thing with the passing is, and it's just really because I'll watch the game on Saturday and I turn it back on Sunday morning and I'm watching it again. I think where my frustration is, and this might just be, I'm a fun and gun, air raid type offensive guy. I love that style of offense, but I agree that there's passes that there's plays that he calls up with the pass game, hit the touchdown pass to Badger in the Ole Miss game.
Yeah,
that is not a lot of quarterbacks are making that pass.
No,
but and who knows, maybe. I think he can get more in his bag when it comes to play calling because, looking at what because Etienne said in the comments that Billy takes 0 shots, which I agree until DJ came in. I think he took a little bit more shots. But going back to this offense this year, if he does not take shots with this offense, we have a big problem. We're not going anywhere. You got to put the ball in the air. There's just – you got to go deep. You got to put the ball in there. You got to do deep post routes. You got to put it to where you're designing stuff up to where receivers are getting separation. And I think that's another thing is the play calling isn't designed to create a lot of separation for receivers. Honestly, the way I look at it is a lot of the passes that happened last year is a lot of when Aaron Rodgers was at Green Bay. It wasn't necessarily that the receivers were doing that great. It's that he was throwing receivers open. Same thing with Lagway. Lagway's throwing receivers open rather than getting a play concept that is creating a separation. And that's where I get frustrated. That's where I get frustrated with his offensive play calling. Whereas, yes, there's like you were talking about, the throws across the middle, they're not easy. I've seen some of them, but I want to see it get more consistent. And I think it kind of goes to that minute 50, that minute 50 is, that's where I get frustrated. I'm if you had this play calling in your bag where you got the throws right and you know how to call a pass offense, let's call that. Let's dial that up. But, that's the question that I'd love to ask him. What was your thought process there?
I think I'm telling guys, if you think Billy Napier doesn't take shots, go I'm telling you, and not to pump somebody else's product, but go watch that Film Guy review.
Yeah.
The deep shots are baked in there.
Hmm.
The problem is how many drives have we had last year where, all right, first down, 20-yard line, go, false start.
Hmm.
Second down, run for 4 yards. Now we're 3rd and 13.
Right.
It's like there was a lot of shooting yourself in the foot because of not executing little things. Lagway, if Lagway wants to be a Heisman caliber quarterback, it's not the big throws. It's the boring stuff.
Hmm.
It's the and for everybody I get how great Lagway is, but he could be a lot better at the boring stuff. Checking the ball down. That's something Graham Mertz did extremely well. Listen, if you check the ball down and get it into Jaden Ball's hands, he's liable to break 1 tackle, right? So if you get 6 or 7, it's the it's the keeping the plays, keeping the plays to where you can call those shot plays. You can't call a shot play on your own 15 when you just had a false start, a holding, and you're backed up, third. You're just trying to get it up the field to move for your punter. There was a lot of 3 and outs last year because of poor execution. A lot more than what people really take into account because those are just gone and over with. They're so quick. 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. That's the frustrating thing because we missed a block or we didn't pick up the blitzer, so we had to throw it out of bounds, or the screen pass we get hit for a holding call. There was a lot of that has to be cleaned up, or Lagway missed a slant. I think that that's the biggest thing for this offense. If they can just execute more, not even at an elite level on the big stuff, on the deep throws, he is the best deep thrower that we've probably seen. I mean, he's top 5. I mean, he's up there with like Joey B and Jaden Daniels, and he's a tremendous deep thrower.
Right.
It's can he operate this offense and get you from the 20-yard line and get the ball moving? Because there was a lot of stalled drives that nobody puts the blame on Lagway. I'm not trying to beat up on Lagway at all. He was a freshman. But we talk about if we want to get to where we want to get, playoffs and contend for a national championship, this rides on Lagway running this offense. And I think that people don't realize when Graham Mertz was running the offense, was it flashy? No. Was it boring? No. But there was a lot of the sustained drives, and that's what got him success his first year.
Yeah, I agree. I see, and going to what you were saying and this isn't a quarterback's fault, it's a play calling fault, but I think this is where, again, when it comes to the designing things and whatnot, is okay, penalties happen. That's disciplined football. You got to be disciplined. I think there's some messed up things, and I understand that there is, if it's 3rd and 13, like you said, okay, sometimes you do just run the ball, you hand the ball off, try to get 4 or 5 yards. Maybe you break one and get a first down, but you get 4 or 5 yards. Okay, gets your punter to where he can put it, inside the 15, inside the 10, whatever, But I think my problem is I feel like every time that it was anything past 3rd and 7, I feel like Billy was just, let me run the ball and let's just kind of give up. Where I'm like, if you're teaching these guys to make these throws, if you're putting them in a position to make these throws, try it. Because okay, we got top notch punters. We have for a while now. Go ahead and just take that chance. Okay, if we give up 5-6 yards, I think that's the thing this year too that will help a lot. And I'll see kind of trusting in the defense as a whole. Maybe that is a big thing with Billy. Maybe he didn't fully trust in his defense, that if he doesn't get it pushed back even more, that if it's, if they're closer to our territory, okay, I don't trust his defense. Okay, well, now you got to trust his defense. I mean, there's some, I don't want to say dogs. There's Gators out there. I can't stand the dogs statement. But when it comes to 3rd and 13, take that risk, because I would rather take the risk and put it in DJ's hands. Honestly, I think that Harrison Bailey can run this offense pretty well. He can run, he can move around. I think that he can run the offense, but you got to put the ball in the air and trust that, okay, mentally, if it's 3rd and 13, like you said, we hand the ball off to Save Ball, or we hand it off to Jacoby Jackson or whoever, and they get 4 or 5 yards. Okay, if we have to give that up to take a chance of putting the ball in the air to try to hit an Aiden Mizell or a Jermichael Sturdivant, I mean, that's a player that I feel like it hasn't talked about at all, and I think he's going to shine. But that's the stuff where I get frustrated, because I'm like, if you are teaching these quarterbacks the way, because the NFL, yeah, they'll hand the ball off sometimes, but on the flip side, they take that chance of putting the ball in the air too, because you got to try to get that first down. You got to do those things. But
I don't know if you look at that wide receiver room last year, and I don't know if, I mean, it turned on in the later half. I don't know if Billy Napier, I mean, definitely didn't have the wide receiver room that he thought. I mean, his main guy, Eugene Wilson, was hurt with a hip.
of course.
And then you have a bunch of unknowns. You have 2 transfers that, DK was nothing at Wisconsin. He was no, perennial player. He turned out to be pretty good. And Elijah Badger was okay at Arizona State. I think this year is, and again, it's the telltale sign of it should look different, because you have different weapons. You have guys, you're very deep at running back. You're very deep at wide receiver. If there's one thing that I wish Billy Napier would do more, and we've already heard maybe a little bit from camp, is throw to the tight ends a little bit.
Oh, 100%.
I mean, you're running a similar offense to what San Francisco does.
Mm-hmm.
But what do they do that we're missing? Why is that offense so potent? Well, tight end work. I mean, they got one of the best tight ends in the league, and they give him the ball. And that's one thing that if I have a gripe about this Billy Napier offense, is that have you seen Hayden Hansen like in person?
Not in person, but
oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't know where they got that Viking from, but straight from Norway or something. I mean, he looks like a product of Brock Lesnar. Like, he's got some lineage back to like his great grandfather was pulling up on a Viking boat and terrorizing shores. Okay, that guy is a absolute unit. And then you have Livingston. You got a couple other guys that are starting to pop. Get the tight, if you want to run this 12 personnel set, get the tight ends the ball. I mean, get them on a seam route. If we could just get them going early and often, the tight ends, I think there's a level of this offense that we haven't seen. And that's my one gripe, is get these tight ends the ball. They're big. They can catch. They're physical. I mean, is Hayden Hansen going to break it for 80 yards like what Kyle Pitts did? No. But he gets you a first down. He can rumble and tumble for 10 yards.
And get you into the zone from the red zone.
Yeah, I think that's the one question. And it seems like, from early reports at camp, I don't know, I'm not an insider, but it seems like they are getting the tight ends the ball a little bit more. If we can get the tight ends the ball a little bit more, watch out. I think this offense is going to be absolutely incredible. And DJ Lagway needs to have a safety valve. And that is usually 90% of the time, it's either a running back or a tight end.
Yeah, I agree. I've said that too. I didn't understand, like, with Boardingham. Like, I'm like, I don't know why we're not getting him the ball more, I guess, and even with Zip, I guess I didn't understand it. I don't know why not. I mean,
when it worked, it produced.
Right.
It was like 15, 20 yards or a touchdown. It's like, well, why not go back to the well, baby? Like it worked. Listen, I'm the proponent of like, you run the, I don't care if you run, look at LSU. How many times did they run counter that one year and ripped us for a non-running team that couldn't run the ball a year? They ripped us for 300, 400 yards on the ground. They counter left, counter right, counter left, counter right. Well, until you stop it, keep running it. And that's one thing I'll have to say. That's one thing I do have to criticize Coach Napier on is, like, we see flashes of greatness in the play calling, and then it's like, okay, that's gone. It's like, but we'll run a jet screen, at least 3 times a game.
Yeah. I don't understand it. And you're right. I think that's my biggest problem is that I do, and just going back, I know you got to go soon, but my biggest thing is that that's my frustration with Billy is I'm like, he does show hints of, yeah, we were just talking about a jump pass a little earlier, but for for the way that he does things, there's times that he shines like with calling plays. You can tell that he's like, okay, I said multiple times last year, the back half of the season, I'm like, who called that play? Because I'm like, because that ain't a Billy play. I don't know where he got it from. But if it is a Billy play, I'm like, why are we not getting more of that? And I get it. Don't do the flashy stuff all the time. Do that halfback dive. Do that, do the jet sweep. That's fine. But I think it's like when you're calling it, well, what are we doing here? And then why are we not teaching receivers on how to block on that jet sweep? Now I think we got someone like Jermichael Sturdivant's a big boy, and you got Dallas Wilson who's packing on muscle, during summertime. You're gonna have receivers that can block that jet sweep now, or even take the jet sweep, and like good luck tackling Dallas Wilson in open field. But I just want to see everything with the Gators. Again, I don't care if I think our defense can stop anybody in the nation from scoring. So we don't have to go out and score 50, 60 points like we talked about in the beginning of this. I don't care if we score 21, 24 points, as long as that team scores 1 point less than us. And it doesn't have to be flashy. You don't have to run the fun and gun offense. You don't have to run the air raid offense, but it just has to be more consistent, because when you get so predictable, and like it's talked about on the timeline, things where Billy has 8, 9 plays, and it's like, okay, if you have this bag that they talked about at SEC Media Day, you got to get in it this year. Because if not, you're going to be looking for a job next year.
Yeah, the touch of when to call the play could be better. My only thing is you're not going to run anything. I wouldn't run a play that my defense couldn't run in practice.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if maybe a little bit is that like they're just not executing a couple of these plays in practice, so that they probably have 15, 20 really, really good plays they execute 98% of the time, and then they just hadn't had the personnel to run all the other stuff. Let's not forget the wide receiver room is much improved. The offensive line is much improved. There has been a lot of improvements in positions and talent than under Billy Napier than what was with Mullen. And I think Mullen is probably one of the best X's and O's coach in the nation. But if you don't have talent, you saw what happened.
Right.
When you don't recruit talent, you're a mid-level, if not worse, team.
Right. And there's times that like good, talented players can make play calling look better than what it actually is, which I personally, like I said, I don't want to harp on Billy.
That's the DJ Lagway effect.
Exactly.
When he shakes off a defensive lineman, rolls out and literally drops a dime, 30 yards down the field. I mean, that's
you can't teach it.
You can't teach that. And Gator fans, I think we're blessed for having a guy like that. We could have been in the situation that Tennessee is in, where our starting quarterback leaves, in the spring, and we have to swap for a terrible transfer quarterback. I think that you got to give credit where credit is due. I mean, you retained 98% of the roster. We didn't really lose any key pieces. Do I think we should have kept the defensive tackle? Yeah, but it's. I think that it's not moving the goalpost. I think that the Florida Gators should be a playoff contender, year in and year out.
Right.
That's unequivocal. I think this is a year that they definitely can take advantage of a SEC being down, quarterback play being questionable at every school minus, I would say, LSU and South Carolina.
Oklahoma. Well, we don't know if John Mateer's going to interfere there, but
I'm question mark on John Mateer. I'm question mark on Arch Manning. I got a question mark for the kid at Ole Miss, Austin Simmons. Yeah, he lit it up against the Georgia defense for one quarter.
right.
Or one series. What happens when you get game film on the kid? I think the Florida Gators are primed and ready, and like I say on the show all the time, like this is it. This is your year, Billy. This is all this has mounted up. You've cooked this pressure cooker, and it's at an all-time high of either success or there's going to be a lot. You thought last year was bad in the timeline. You lose with the talented team like this, and watch out.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that. Honestly, that's a big thing. So I'll ask you this question before I'll let you get off here. But how many wins do you think Billy needs? Whether it means that he has to hire an OC next year, how many wins do you think he needs to get to save his job?
It's probably people aren't gonna like this. Because of the weapons we have, and you open up the transfer portal for 30 days for people to pick your team. I mean, unless it's a complete collapse, I don't think he goes anywhere. I think he could have the same record as last year, if not one game more, and he's fine. We're not going to be happy, but you want to lose DJ Lagway, you want to lose Dallas. Listen, Billy Napier leaves, and you open up the portal. You don't think Oregon's coming after Dallas Wilson?
Right.
You don't think Texas A&M is coming after DJ Lagway? You don't think this roster that's uber talented? You don't think that all those guys are definitely in question?
Right. I think that a big thing is that, and it's hard now because I made a comment last year that you don't save a coach to save a player. But now it's a little different because there's so many players on this team. But a big thing for me is that I think he has to get 8. If he gets 7 or less, I don't think that I don't think the fan base, it'll just be overflowing.
I don't think that the university cares what the fan base thinks. I truthfully I can say this. The faction on Twitter is probably 10% of the Florida fan base and is the loudest, I would say. YouTube is probably another 4 or 5 or 10%. I mean, most average Florida fans know DJ Lagway and a couple players on defense, and that's about it.
Right.
You're still gonna have 90,000 show up regardless. It's and I don't mean to sound like, but it's almost like the Nebraska effect. Like, it doesn't matter how bad Florida gets, the fans are gonna pack it. I mean, Nebraska hasn't been good since the 90s, and they sell out every single year.
Right.
I just think I don't think that the people making the shot callers really care what the fans think. It's evident. We told them we don't want seats taken away. They're doing it anyway. We say that ticket prices are too expensive. They go up. We say that we want NIL done a certain way. They do it the exact opposite. And so it's like that they're in the business of making money, and they make money. And that's it. We're still going to buy the apparel. We're still going to go to the games. Is it going to suck? Could suck, or we could be a playoff contender.
Right. Yeah. I guess the reason is kind of like Ben said down here. I think the biggest thing is, and even like Carlos said, it does have a feeling of a Ron Zook type feel, where it's like you got a talented roster, but you just kind of can't piece it together. but how long are the boosters? I know the university doesn't care. Scott Strickland does not care. Like, I think that it's
No.
do we have a good friendship with this guy? Cool, then he can stay because there's no problems that are being caused. There's nobody stepping outside of that boundary. They're just, it's what you're getting with Billy. He's a great guy, and no matter what it was signed, the boosters are going to find a way into that. They're going to pay for these players. I don't care how they signed it. Where they can't get paid from outside. I don't care. They've been finding it for years. Years and years. You got dudes that played for Alabama who came from absolutely nothing, and they get on the campus and they're driving Dodge Chargers. I'm like, where'd you get that from? But they're gonna find a way. But how long are the boosters going to continue to put that money into paying for players, no matter how much it is, to when they finally say, okay, we got to bring somebody else in? Because they put together the buyout money last year, but somehow the university kind of, I guess, talked them down. But I don't know.
The boosters are going to support it forever.
Yeah,
they're fanatical. They're like us with money.
Yeah.
I mean,
get that money. I'll be donating it all.
Hey, JB, you're a multi-millionaire. You own a law firm or cars or sell private jets. Hey JB, we got this 5-star wide receiver, generational talent. You saw what Ohio State did with Jeremiah Smith. We got this guy this year. What I need you to do, I need you to write me a check for like $5 million. Can you write me a check for $5 million?
Yeah, true. You're right.
Are you writing the check?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, baby, we're in.
But here's I guess the one counterpart to that is that it's hard for me because, of course, I'm thinking with you don't
think they think the way we do?
Yeah, but they also, I'm sure they're asking the question like, well, who's going to call the plays for me to get this 5-star such and such? You know what I mean? Like,
some of them.
Yeah, it's just
some of them write the check and just don't care.
Yeah, I think Hal does. I think there's certain guys who write that check and they just they know it's not going to bounce, but it's just tough for me. Overall, it's very tough when it comes to. I really do hope. I don't know. I will say this. I said it on the show, and it's kind of like with what Ben said too. Is like 7-win season. Yeah, it's going to be hard to recruit, but do not let us get a 10+ win season because it's going to get real wicked in Gainesville if we do.
Yeah, I think Auburn is in that position where, and they've looked way worse than we have. Auburn, Alabama last year couldn't buy a player in Alabama, in the state of Alabama. Auburn was taking them out back to the woodshed. I'll say this though. I think Billy Napier is definitely more of a personal guy than what Hugh Freeze is. I think that Billy Napier will always be able to recruit, regardless of the record. I think the money is always going to be there. We're going to have a top 5 class with 7 wins. I don't think so. We're going to have top 10, probably, like truthfully, because I think there's guys like me and you with a boatload of money that love the Florida Gators. And when Billy Napier calls and says, "Hey, I just need a little $5 million here. Hey, Kody, can you shoot me over $3 million? We got this linebacker. Oh, I know you like edge players. Yeah, we got this kid out of Texas. We got to get him. Well, how much is it going to take? Well, Texas is offering 4.5. Well, I'll give you 5.5, and if you don't spend it all, go get somebody else. I just think that's how it is. I think, and you gotta understand that Billy Napier is great at relationships. He's I wouldn't say charming, but he has a way with people. He's a people person. He's a player's coach, and I think that goes a long way when it comes to recruiting. Players being bought in and staying at the program. And I think that and not to irritate anybody, I think there is a point where he could get fired if it's that bad. Right. I just don't think it's what everybody thinks. But they're with the talent on offense. We didn't even really talk about Studevant. That's my breakout player this year. That kid had an NFL draft profile. He's been cursed by bad quarterback play. If you saw the quarterback play that he had at both schools, it was atrocious. It was like me back there. It was terrible. I think that um I think that we're primed and ready for a big year, and I think there should be excitement.
Yeah.
Um, my biggest question is will DJ Lagway be able to stay healthy?
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. I've kind of told everybody I've talked to, I'm like, I'm gonna stop talking about his injuries because I don't want to speak it into
Yeah,
existence. But a big thing is like, like Logan said too, is that the players played for Billy. Um, it showed in the FSU game whenever Gums planted that flag and it started to turn into, kind of a ruckus out there, and those players, wrapped around him. And I think it was like you'd have to kill them boys to get through to him.
yeah.
And that's a big thing. Um, to answer your question, Carlos, this is gonna be a random poll, but I would love to see us hire Joe Brady, to be honest with you. He's the OC for the Bills. He doesn't really like recruiting, but he's also the OC for the 2019 LSU team. I'd love to see it. He's a X's and O's mastermind.
That's your Coach Nape replacement.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get fired. I want to keep Coach Nape, honestly. Or we can just, keep Coach Nape, and then we can just go pay Joe Brady buku dollars to come and coach.
Yeah, I think I'm very. High top. Obviously, we get crowned the sunshine pumpers, right?
Yeah.
But I think when over the last hour, when you break down what this defense can be, it can be a top 10, top 5 defense in the nation.
Yeah.
Especially if the cornerbacks show out, I think the offense will be fine. I don't think you scored plenty of points last year to hang with them if the defense plays like they did in the second half. The question is, what is the defense going to do? Are they going to show up like the Miami game, or are you gonna be like the Ole Miss LSU game? I think the wins are there, but it's going to come off the defense. And I think if there's a time where this offense is clicking on all cylinders and it's in the playoffs and the defense is top 10, I think you have a national title contender.
Yeah.
But there's questions, and there's questions on every team. There's not a team out there right now that doesn't have questions. Ohio State, you look at Ohio State, who's going to play quarterback? They don't have a quarterback right now that's played a lot. You look at Notre Dame, kind of same question. You look at all these teams. Penn State lost their best tight end. That was pretty much their whole offense. Can't wait to watch them slug it out with Iowa. It's going to be 7-3 at the end of 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's just so many questions, but that's what I mean. We're 30 days away, and that's what makes it exciting.
Yeah, exactly. Also, Chris, by the way, I swear to you, bro, I was going to say play action pass, but I was going to say like a 20 to 25 yard pass to Eugene Wilson. Swear on everything. I think that's going to be what it's going to be. Get the crowd hyped up. It's LIU. It'll be able to be completed. Everybody will take a deep breath because of Lagway. Yeah, I want that. I want to see that. Or to Jermichael Sturdivant. Let's just go ahead and see that.
It's gonna be a dive play and ball breaks it for 80.
It will be 100%.
It will be. You know what? It will be.
It's not going to end up being a incomplete pass, and everyone's going to freak out, and then we're going to run up 60 on them.
Or it'll be a screen for
some
crazy amount of yards. Yeah.
Honestly, that's probably what it's going to be. But I just wanted to put it on the record that if it is a play action pass, you just beat me to it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. To be honest with you, I don't even really want to talk too much about Billy getting fired because I have I'm drinking the Kool-Aid with this team. I did last year too, but
I don't think people were wrong to drink the Kool-Aid. The team was very good in the second half of the season once the defense figured it out. I don't think the offense was all that much better. I mean, it was better under Lagway, yes, but I think you could have won all the same games regardless. If the defense would have held up in the first half of the game, you don't lose to a lot of these teams. You don't lose to Miami. You don't lose to Tennessee. You don't lose to Georgia. You got to keep them out of the end zone. It's It's like my favorite quote from Friday Night Lights. Listen, if they score more than we do, we lose. That's the name of the game. Got to keep them out of the end zone. Okay. The whole premise of this game is to keep them out of the end zone. For as much as everybody wants to blame the play calling on Billy for the Tennessee game, I mean, they let them score how many times? They should have locked it down, but they didn't. I understand it got better at the second half of the season. And sometimes a team just needs to know that they can play with these other teams, and they I think this team knows that now. And I think that's why people are so excited, and they should be so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I think everything's going to be fine. Honestly, I just it's it's going to happen. You are on X, I'm on X. We all see what happens when anything goes wrong. It's just instantly right now they're freaking out because that tight end flipped and went to North Carolina instead of us, and so it's just they freak out about anything. But we look at, for example, Ohio State last year. They took a loss, in the regular season, but in the end, they won when it mattered. They finished the game, and so it's like as long as the players aren't giving up, the fans can't give up either. It's a whole ecosystem. Everybody needs everybody. You need to show up to the Swamp. You got to be loud. If we, for some reason we lose to LSU, you still got to show up for that Florida Texas game, because I'll tell you right now, you lose to LSU, or God forbid we lose to Miami, but you go out there and beat Texas, I promise you that one of those losses you'll forget about that loss.
I don't think it's going to be a problem with the Concrete getting into the Swamp. I think they sold out most of the games already.
Yeah.
And I will say this. LSU's going to be tough. LSU at night. Billy Napier is not very good on the road. That's another evolution of Billy Napier that we need to see. You got to be able to go win on the road. There was a quote. I don't know who quoted it, but I guess Billy hasn't beat a team on the road with a winning record. That's not a stat you want.
Right.
And then another one, like when he came in here, everybody was so excited because he had like all these one game, like Billy Napier's like 20-2 with games that are one score. Like that was his big thing when he came in here. I don't want the score to be one. Listen, I'm trying to be sitting back and relaxed by the fourth quarter. I want my starting quarterback out. I want my second defense in, and I want Harrison Bailey throwing for 1,000 yards this year off second team snaps. Okay.
Right. I want Aiden Warner to be in there because Harrison Bailey's throwing it out there. But yeah, I agree. LSU's gonna be tough. I love that we get them early. I talked about this on the show, that it's not like no one has ever walked into Death Valley and beat them at night. Yeah. I mean, it's Brian Kelly is their head coach, so
I don't think they play day games there.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think
like Lane Kiffin said. He's like, oh, what's the schedule? Oh, LSU at night.
Like,
you know what I mean? Go figure.
Yeah, I agree, and it's definitely winnable. Again, it's just going to take taking risks. It's going to take really just putting the pedal to the metal and just really trying to move the ball down the field. But again, I don't talk about it. Honestly, I talked about it because it's in the questions, but I don't really talk about Billy getting fired, just because I fully believe, you're not going to hear me say we're going to lose a game. Like, we're going undefeated. If you ask me, we're going undefeated. We haven't lost a game before the season started. So, that's just how I feel about it. It's 12-0 incoming, but if we are to drop a game somewhere, as long as it's like honestly any game, if it means we end up 11-1, 10-2, that schedule, we're getting to the playoffs. And I'm not even mad if we end up missing the SEC championship game, because we saw the playoffs played out last year. So, I'm fine with it. I can't wait. I'm so, now that we're like in the month that it starts, now I feel like I'm just like tweaking. I'm so ready for it.
Yeah, it cooled off a little bit. I was in a sweatshirt yesterday at practice. It was like, oh yeah, football is here. Like this is football season. You get to throw on the sweater and and hang out, and the kids are cracking pads. I mean, I love it. And I'll say this: if there is a matchup that is pro Florida, minus it being at LSU, it's the LSU game
Yeah.
because Brian Kelly's teams have been soft. They're soft, and if there's a team that wants to run it down your throat and beat you up, and then play good defense and beat you up there, sacking your quarterback 5, 6, 7 times, it's the Florida Gators, and I think that's why they can definitely go into Death Valley and get a dub.
Yeah. And Nuss can't run. I think that's been our kryptonite for a long time. Is
They
that
sacked him 7 times last game?
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I think we do it again. I'd love to see Death Valley quiet, mid third quarter. Um, Again, I think DJ stays healthy this year. It's football. He's going to get bumps and bruises. If he gets on the report for having an injury, stay calm. It's football. If you ever even put on a helmet, you know that junk sucks when you go heads up with somebody. You're going to get injuries. As long as it's not a Florida Georgia injury like he took last year, everything will be fine, and everyone just needs to take a deep breath.
Everybody plays hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a difference. I had a coach tell me, so I had a partial tear in my ACL. I was a pretty decent wrestler in high school, and I had a partial tear in my ACL. And so my knee would like pop out of socket, and I would straighten it up, and then it would pop back in, and we just taped it up for the rest of the season. But I'll never forget the coach runs over and he goes, "Are you injured or are you hurt?" Because there's a difference. I think DJ Lagway can play through hurt.
Yeah.
He's been known to do that. That's one thing I will say. The kid's tougher than a $2 steak. The injury is what I'm worried about. Big injury is what I'm worried about, obviously. And these kids are going to be sore. I mean, I sneezed earlier today, and I'm now my chest is sore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just weird stuff happens to people. We're weird creatures. So,
yeah, it happens.
Yep.
I think it's just everyone needs to take a deep breath because, again, like you said, that are you injured or are you hurt? And I think that's the thing that he played on half a leg. He played on one leg last year and still threw a grown man off of him in Tallahassee and proceeded to throw the ball down the field and complete the pass. It's going to be fine. I get it. Everyone has this hype, so you see any type of chink in the armor, you're like, whoa, 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 like. This is bad. We're not going anywhere. And it's like, calm down. Like, it's going to be all right. We're going to be all right. You play in the SEC. You're going to get beat up. It's all good. You know what I mean? Who knows? You got LSU versus Clemson week 1. Who's to say they're not going to come into, the game beat up? You got Texas versus Ohio State week 1. They could come in beat up. That's the great thing about us this year is we have it's kind of a riser like this. And I get it. You go like this and you shoot up with the LSU. We have not had an LIU start, the Urban Meyer days. We're playing, absolute nobodies. We're playing, First Baptist Church week 1.
School of the blind.
Yeah. And so it's like, finally, we have a start to the season where we're like, okay, we can go out there. We can work on things, put up 60 on them because we're working different plays. USF, we should handle them, easily as well, even though, they gave Bama a run for their money. But we should handle them in the swamp easily. And then, okay, now let's get ready. You know what I mean? Let's see what happens. So these guys can tape it up. They got these injections they give these boys, and that pain just miraculously goes away. As long as something doesn't tear or break, we're going to be okay.
Yep, for sure. And,
all right.
Yeah, I think the fall camp has started. Just put a blinder on to the injury list because I think, and it might be bro science, but I think it takes a while to get acclimated to hitting. I think when you put the pads on and you hit every day or every other day, you're going to wake up on Wednesday and your shoulders are going to be sore. You're going to get stepped on. My son today was like, "Oh, my shoulder was really sore." And I'm like, yeah, you got blown up when you pulled on that, that edge rusher blew you up when you're pulling.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to be sore. I'm like, but Saturday you'll be all hyped up, juiced up for the game and you'll be fine. And, he's obviously younger, but we're talking about some of the best genetically freakiest athletes in the world. All right. That are playing in the SEC. They'll be fine.
And I don't look at that injury list as too crazy because I think that there's a lot of guys that go, man, the feel like temperature out here is 110. Like, coach, my knee hurts a little bit today. And then they go on the injury list because they have to, because then everybody's watching practice. But in all reality, they're like, I just didn't want to, I didn't want to work out in that hot heat. So,
Well, and there's no reason. I also think there's a proponent to. I'm not saying that you don't ever let your best players ever get tackled or tackle. I'm not saying that.
right.
There's a proponent to throwing a black jersey on and saying he's got a sore something just for a rest day.
Yeah.
There's no reason to beat your head into the wall. Like we only hit like 1 day a week. Like really light it up. And then 90% of it's walk through. And it's the same in the NFL. It's the same in college football. I mean, we go through our same tackling drills, but we're only really live under fire for about 15 minutes, 20 minutes of practice.
Right.
And that's how they are.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm trying to tell myself, and I get it because I get kind of worked up and I start reading stuff and I start freaking myself out. But it's like, I'm just like, okay, just
look at the whole boot thing. Everybody's freaking out about the boot. Now the boot's off. All's fine.
And the boot's off, and there's jokes on the timeline, and it's like, no, you were the person who was just freaking out 3 days ago.
Gate. Yep.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, I panicked a little bit too because it is a little bit telling, but it's going to be fine. It's just relax, take a chill pill, and it's going to be all right. We're going to get through it. Until it gets bad, don't panic. Lagway is still our starting quarterback, and we're going 12-0.
I'll say this right before we get off here because I gotta head to work.
Yep, no worries.
I'll say this. Usually Billy Napier is very, very locked down. Everything is close to the chest. You don't know a thing about anything about medical or anything that's going on to the program. I think that the biggest thing for Billy Napier and knowing that he has a team this year is they're having an open practice with
tomorrow, right?
Yeah, Saturday. Yeah. They're having an open practice with Florida Victorious members and open to the media.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to at all.
Nope.
And they're hosting an open practice. And I think now, is it all going to be vanilla? Yeah. Are they going to hit? Probably not. It's going to be like spring game.
Right.
But I think if the team looked really, really bad, like some other programs like FSU, missing the whole, defensive lineman missing the whole sled, I just make them run. Like just run the rest of practice. My kids
we're shutting down practice.
Yeah, just run.
Yeah, it does tell a lot. I think that's a big thing. Is that I think that's the other thing too. Is that Billy's not afraid to show certain plays because he knows that I'm getting deep in my bag this year.
Christopher, no, not gonna make it to a game this year. I try to make it to one every year. It's tough with kids and football schedule, cheer schedule. Then we roll into basketball. There's just like no time. And me and Shelton are talking about it. It's best for the podcast because we do so much live stuff. We're gonna do live. We'll be live with you during the game. So we'll be doing that at High Top, just like the basketball game. So you'll get an even more juiced up version than what we were during basketball, which is going to be nuts.
Right.
So we'll be doing a simulcast with the game, and then we have the live call-in show. There's just a lot when you're doing this as much as we are podcast wise to be able to make it to the game.
Yeah. I mean, I was hoping y'all were going to make it. I know Shelton's going to LIU.
Yep. I got a long drive. I'm in Indianapolis, so
that's what he was telling me at the
it's a haul for me.
media event.
We always make the spring game though.
Super chat. I mean, I know that it's like there's a spot for it, but I don't know if I have it where I can be sent a super chat. To be honest, I don't know.
Not yet.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think so. I think I have to get to a certain amount of subscribers. But yeah, we're going to the LIU game. My cousin that's in here, his kids and my son are going to their first game, and then my brother's in the chat, my wife. We got about 10 of us going. So, but yeah, I really do appreciate you coming on. I know you got to get going. But yeah, I appreciate you taking the time. and hanging out even longer than, I thought we were going to do. So this is sick. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
it happens. We can
Yeah,
talk about
it
football.
does. That's what
It's
I
like,
sound like.
stuff.
I started talking about the
That
Gators.
tour list can wait.
Yeah, Kody didn't bring the Busch Light on, man. But look, I didn't take a sip of mine yet, but I got mine locked in.
For sure.
Cody's got to go to work, though, so we can't blame him.
Yeah.
But no, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me. And, we'll have to get everybody on. Me, you, Shelton. I'm still trying to get Stephen Harris on. But I was waiting on you to say that he was your favorite player. I thought that
he's my favorite person in the
yeah,
world.
that's true.
Stephen Harris ain't my favorite player. That guy is. I mean, that guy's my brother from another mother. I love that dude.
Yeah,
genuinely.
he's sick. He reached out to me, and I was like freaking. I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
And so it's pretty sick. But yeah, I'll let you get off here. Like I said, I know you gotta get going. Appreciate everybody on here hanging out with us and spending time. We're gonna go. Yeah, Carlos, let's do it, bro. Let's set it up. We can do a live show too. And kick it and talk some Gators talk. But yeah, no, I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me, bro.
No problem.
All right, you guys have a good night. You guys know what it is. If you ain't a Gator, you guys know the rest.